Hi, good day, everyone. This is Rita Choi, founder of Asia HRM. As a continuation of our series on business sustainability, or we simply call it sustainability for business. Today, we have a topic which is very close to my heart. I'm sure that in the previous sessions, you were able to get a very good idea on what sustainability is about, why is it so important, and how does it work in your organization. And for the topic today, is about governance. Since I'm the member of the Hong Kong Chartered Governance Institute, I'm really a partner of governance. Especially in this AI era, everybody uses AI. But how do we, as leaders, HR and culture, shape trust, fairness, and performance, especially in this era? As we know that governance is very important for the existence of an organization. I'm sure that you have heard of cases such as Enron in the US due to fraudulent accounting and board failure. And the outcome was bankruptcy. Like Lehman Brothers in the US, due to risk governance breakdown. Again, the outcome was collapse, even triggering global financial crisis. For Luckin Coffee in China, due to fabricated sales and weak internal controls, the result was delisting from Nasdaq. Even cost them US dollar 11 billion market value lost. So you can see that if the company has poor governance, it really impacts its sustainability. Governance is everyone's responsibility. IT has IT governance, finance has finance governance, risk has risk governance, and HR also has HR governance. And since most of our viewers today are from human resources, so we'll use human resources as example. But the principles apply across the whole organization. Before I start with the story, I would love to have you to tell me where are you from. Just say hi to us. And also, just feel free to put your question in the question box. And all the questions or even comments will be noted and even answered. Are you all ready for it? Great. Let me start with a story. Two candidates were being considered for a senior role. They were almost distinguishable on paper. Same role experience, same performance rating, same potential score, same interview feedback strength. On any traditional scoring sheet, they were tied. But the organization didn't use just one process. They used two parallel decision paths run by different leadership groups. For the first leadership group, the panel met, reviewed the evidence together, challenged each other's assumptions, and openly documented how they reached their conclusion. The candidate wasn't selected, but the feedback was clear, specific, and aligned. The recruiter followed up with a detailed explanation of strengths and gaps, and how the decision connected to broader organizational priorities. The candidates left disappointed, of course, right, without a job, but respected, seen, considered, fairly evaluated. How about another leadership group? How did they make the decision? The decision was made through a series of disconnected inputs. Individual ratings were collected, then averaged. A final decision was issued by system-generated recommendation with minimal human discussion. When the candidate asked for clarity, the response was generic. Another candidate better matched the role requirements. Does it sound familiar to you? There was no narrative, no cynicism, no explanation or trade-offs. The candidates left confused. then frustrated, and even disengaged. Same outcome, not selected, but radically different experience. Nowadays, we all talk about candidate experience, right? One candidate still trusted the organization, even without a job. The other quietly removed themselves from future opportunities. Months later, both candidates were asked about the company. The first said, "It was competitive, but they were fair. I will apply again." How about the second one? "I don't know what happened there. It felt like a black box." That's when the pattern became obvious inside the company. The difference wasn't the decision, it was the governance behind the decision. One process treated decision making as something that must be explained to humans. The other treated it as something that only needed to be computed correctly. In the AI era, the smallest governance gap, missing contexts, unclear reasoning, inconsistent explanation, can become the biggest trust gap of all. Then why this matters now? Why does this matter so much today? Because AI is rewriting how organizations make decisions. Before AI, humans made the decision. Now, we use AI across every function, like hiring, promotion, performance, rewards, operations, customer service, risk scoring, financial modeling, everything. Employees expect transparency. Regulators expect accountability. Who is accountable? The board expects risk control, how risks are managed. And talent expects fairness, how fairness is protected. Governance is no longer a compliance exercise. It's a business survival strategy. Do you agree? All along we talk about governance. What does governance really mean? So when we strip away the jargon, governance is actually very practical. Governance is how decisions are made, who is accountable, how risks are managed, how fairness is protected. These are the expectations of our stakeholders. It's not a policy document. It's not a board meeting. It lives in daily behavior across all functions, in how decisions are made and communicated. Governance in the AI era. AI amplifies everything. Of course, a lot of good in AI, but we can also see its risks. The top risks are bias hidden inside algorithms. AI learns from historical data. If the data contains bias, for example, favoring certain schools, genders, ages, or even backgrounds, AI will learn and repeat those patterns. And the danger is AI makes biased decisions faster, more consistently, and at scale. So a small bias in the data becomes a big bias in the outcome. You can see its impact. Opaque decision logic. This is when the AI gives you a result, but you cannot see or explain how it got there. It's the black box problem. Remember that in the story, candidate number 2 expressed the same. It's a black box for him. He didn't even know why he was not considered for that position. Nobody explained to him. You don't know what factors it used, how it weighted them, why it preferred one candidate over another. If you cannot explain the decision, you cannot justify it, defend it, or even improve it. How about data privacy breaches? AI systems often require large amounts of personal data, such as our CVs, performance records, behavioral data, even communication patterns. If governance is weak, risks include data being used beyond its original purpose, data being shared with vendors without proper controls, sensitive information being exposed or misused. In the AI era, data privacy is not just a compliance issue, it's a trust issue. How about accountability gaps? I would like to share with you another story, another real story. A law firm actually was fined because of AI, because of using AI. Not because of using AI purely, it's because they use AI to compile a proposal for their clients. And AI used some of the fake case laws. In the end, they were fined. In this story, in this real story, who was responsible for that? Who was accountable? AI or the head of the department or even the boss of the company? Here we can see there are accountability gaps here. When AI is involved, people sometimes assume the system designed, the vendor designed, the algorithm designed, but AI cannot be held accountable. Only humans can. Without clear governance, no one knows who is responsible for checking the data, validating the model, reviewing the decision, correcting errors. This is where organizations get into trouble, just like the legal company, because accountability becomes blurry. Lastly, with the over reliance on automation. AI is powerful. Yes, we all agree to it, but it's not perfect. When organizations rely too heavily on automation, they risk ignoring the context, missing exceptions, overlooking human potential, accepting AI output without question. AI sees patterns, humans sees people. When we over rely on automation, we lose the human judgment that keeps decisions fair and balanced. AI doesn't remove bias, it scales unless governed. So as human resources, as one of the key governance pillars, every function has governance responsibilities. But human resources plays a unique role because HR governs the systems that shape fairness for people. These include hiring, performance, rewards, succession, culture, employee data, AI tools used in people decisions. People systems are governance systems, and HR, like IT, finance, and risk, must strengthen its governance capability. HR is the guardians of fairness. Do you agree? Okay, let's go through this HR governance model, especially in this AI era. It includes structure, process, people, culture, and even outcomes. This model shows how governance actually works inside an organization, not just on paper, but in daily behavior. Each element builds on the previous one, and weaknesses in any layer will affect fairness, trust, and performance. Just the culture, structure, which is the foundation of the model. This is the formal architecture that defines how things should work. It includes policies, frameworks, decision rights, reporting lines, roles and responsibilities, committee approval mechanisms. The purpose is to create clarity and prevent ambiguity. Without structure, decision becomes inconsistent and subjective. One of the examples is to clear promotion criteria, defined decision makers, and documented governance roles. The second component is process. How decisions are made. Processes translate structure into repeatable actions. They ensure decisions are consistent, transparent, documented, and auditable. The purpose is to reduce variability and ensure fairness across teams and managers. One of the examples is to have a standardized recruitment workflow with bias checks and human in the loop. The third component is people, who actually makes the decisions. Even with perfect structure and process, people still make the final calls. This layer focuses on capability, behavior, judgment, ethics, and accountability. The purpose is to ensure decision makers understand and follow governance principles. One of the examples is managers trained to challenge AI recommendations, not blindly accept them. The fourth one, culture, governance in action. Culture determines whether governance is lived or just written. It shows up in transparency, psychological safety, fairness norms, leadership behavior, and communication style. The purpose is to make governance real, not theoretical. Culture is where employees feel fairness or the lack of it. One of the examples is leaders openly explaining decisions instead of hiding behind the system. Do you still remember the story about staff interviews? The first group of leaders did explain the reason why the candidate was not considered. The last component is outcomes, what people experience. This is the result of the first 4 layers. The outcomes include trust, fairness, employee experience, risk reduction, business performance, and reputation. The purpose is to measure whether governance is working. Good governance produces predictable, fair, defensible outcomes. One of the examples is consistent promotion decision across departments with clear rationale. How the model works together. Structure gives clarity, process gives consistency. People give judgment, culture gives trust. Outcomes tells us whether governance is working. Or we even more simply, structures equals rules, process equals how, people equals who, culture equals behavior, and the outcome equals impacts. Most organizations focus on structure and process, but the real impact sits in people and culture. This is where fairness is felt. That is where governance becomes real. So what good HR governance really look like? Of course, clear decision rights, right? As employees, we want to know why the decision was made. But who decides? Who checks? Who signs off? Transparent criteria. Employees understand how decisions are made. Documented processes, consistencies across teams, managers, and AI tools. How about risk controls? Bias checks, audit trails, and human in the loop. Lastly would be culture of fairness. Leader model transparency and accountability. These principles apply to every function, but HR feels the impact most directly because people feel fairness immediately. Let's move on to some of the HR governance in AI recruitment and promotion. I'm sure some company will use AI for recruitment, maybe most of you. But where governance breaks, these are the common failure points. Biased training data, AI use historical data and repeat the pattern, as mentioned earlier. Black box vendor tools. Many AI tools used in AI are built by external vendors. The problem is we often cannot see inside the model. We don't know what data it was trained on, what features it uses, how it weights different factors, how it reaches a decision. When the logic is opaque, we cannot verify fairness, challenge the output, or defend the decision. This creates governance and compliance risks. Over filtering, such as CV screening. AI screening tools can be overly aggressive. They may filter out candidates based on keywords, job titles, gaps in employment, school names, formatting differences. This means good candidates can be rejected because a human ever sees them. Overfiltering reduces diversity, limits opportunity, and creates hidden unfairness. Lack of human review. One of the biggest risks is when organizations rely on AI output without human judgment. Do you still remember the issue with the legal firm? No documentation of decisions. Governance requires traceability. If decisions are not documented, especially AI-assisted ones, we cannot explain the rationale, audit the process, defend the outcome, identify bias, improve the system. Lack of documentation is one of the most common governance failures. If it is not recorded, it cannot be governed. If you cannot explain the AI decision, you cannot defend it. Let me stop from here to see if you have any questions. We welcome any questions here. I saw some comments here. Wow. Thank you so much, my friend, Charles. I have my friend here, Pam. Love you. Pleased to be here. I'm from Hong Kong. Tiffany from Hong Kong. Thank you so much. And we have Famid, Bangladesh. Charles, it's true. Many worry AI will simply scale bias. The latest 2025 data tells a far more hopeful story. According to the State of AI Bias in Talent Acquisition 2025 report by Warden AI, well-designed AI systems are delivering up to 45% fairer outcomes for racial minorities and 39% fairer for women compared to human decisions. This shows that thoughtful governance can help unlock AI real potential to build more equitable workplaces. In 2014-17, Amazon built an AI recruiting tool trained on a decade of its own, mostly male, hiring data. The AI ended up systematically downgrading resumes, containing words like women's, and penalizing graduates. Penalizing graduates. Let me read it again. Sorry, I lost the message somehow. Okay, penalizing the graduates of women's colleges. They ultimately scrapped the entire project because it could not fix the gender bias. Today, Amazon relies on a combination of human recruiters. Great, not just AI, right? Carefully designed AI, ML tools for job matching, skill-based assessments, and interview Oops, somehow I lost it. I don't know why. And let's see. And interview support that emphasize equality rather than full resume ranking automation. More and more companies are moving in this direction. That's great. Some companies are doing something about this loopholes in the use of AI. Okay, let me continue with my presentation. Thank you so much for all of your comments. So, doing AI recruitment well, as Charles shares some of the research that he gathers from the internet. Human in the loop, right? AI supports, but human design. Bias testing, regular audits on gender, age, school backgrounds, and language. Transparent criteria. Candidates know what AI is evaluating. Vendor challenge. Ask vendors, what data trained the model? What bias control exists? What audit logs are available? How about documentation? Every AI-assisted decision leaves a trail. These are governance principles, not AI principles. They apply to any function using AI for decision making. How about AI in promotion and performance? Promotion and performance decisions are even more sensitive. Yes, the risks are AI reinforcing historical bias, overweighting past performance, penalizing career breaks, penalizing non-traditional profiles, lack of context. AI cannot read politics, culture, or potential. AI sees patterns. Leaders see people. We need both. So how could we use AI well, especially in this governance perspective? Clear promotion criteria, no ambiguity, no manager discretion without justification. AI as a second opinion, not the decision maker. AI highlights patterns, human interprets. Calibration governance, cross-team fairness checks. Don't just rely on AI. We are here. Humans are here. Explainability. Employees deserve to know why. Appeals mechanism. Governance equals fairness and voice. We love to hear employees' voice. Their voice will make a difference in the company's culture and also the result. Again, these governance principles that apply across the organization. So let's move on to culture as governance in action. Policy don't build trust, people do. Culture shows up in how managers communicate decisions, how leaders role model fairness, how transparent organization is, how safe employees feel to speak up. Culture is the real governance system. Do you all agree? So I'm going to share with you some of the practical tools for HR. So when you do this governance self-check, please ask if these decisions are consistent, transparent, and documented. How about AI governance checklist? Have you tested bias? Have you done any human oversights or even data protection? Let's go through this people governance maturity scale. There are 5 levels here. Level 1, ad hoc. At this level, decisions depend on individual managers. There are no standard criteria, no consistent process, and no documentation. People experience inconsistency, unpredictability, and perceived fairness. This is where bias and risk are highest because decisions rely on personal judgment without governance. At level 2, defined. We have rules, but not everyone follows them. At this level, organizations have policies, frameworks, and guidelines, but they are not consistently applied. People experience some clarity, but still variation across teams. Fairness depends on who your manager is. Governance exists on paper, but not yet in practice. Level 3, consistency. We follow the same process across the organization. Getting better, right? At this level, processes are standardized and consistently applied. Managers follow the same steps, use the same criteria, and document decisions. People experience predictability, transparency, reduced bias, and more trust. This is where governance becomes real and visible. How about level 4? Audited. We check, challenge, and continuously improve. At this level, governance is not only consistent, it is monitored. There are audits, calibration sessions, fairness checks, and data reviews. People experience accountability, defensible decisions, early detection of bias, and continuous improvement. This is where organizations start to build real credibility. The final level, that is level 5, predictive and ethical AI. Governance becomes proactive, not reactive. At this level, organizations use data and AI responsibly to predict risks and prevent unfairness before it happens. This includes predictive analytics, bias testing algorithms, explainable AI, human-in-the-loop governance, ethical AI frameworks. People experience high trust, transparent decisions, fairness by design, a future-ready organization. This is the gold standard where governance becomes a strategic advantage. These tools help HR strengthen its governance, just as IT, finance, and risk strengthen theirs. Which level is your company at the moment? What is your next step? What is your next level? So what great looks like? A future-ready organization where AI is used responsibly, employees trust decisions, leaders are accountable, human resources is the governance backbone, fairness is measurable, culture reinforces transparency. Governance becomes a competitive advantage. Here I have this call to action for every one of you here. For leaders, build transparency, demand accountability. Not AI, be accountable for the work that they have done for you. Humans are. For human resources, lead AI governance, protect fairness. For organizations, make governance a strategic priority, not a compliance exercise. Let's build organizations that are fair, transparent, and trustworthy. Thank you so much. I have covered what governance is, why it's so important, and how we're going to do it well, especially about this 5 level of state that you are in governance and the governance framework. Hope you will take some of this away and apply it in your company. Okay, let me take a look to see if any have any questions from the viewers. Okay. So if AI systems are inherently opaque, how can HR leaders ensure fairness in recruitment and promotion decisions without slowing down business performance? Very good question. Thank you so much for that. As we mentioned, right, we do have this transparency is one of the thing, right? So even if the AI model like is opaque, the organization must still commit to role appropriate transparency. This means employees deserve to understand the criteria used in decisions. HR must be able to explain the decision process, even if not the algorithm. Leaders must be accountable for outcomes, not the technology. Vendors must be accountable for model behavior, bias testing, and documentation. So basically, human is the person, someone who has to be accountable for. We have to test the data, making sure that there's no bias in it. And we always go for this. We always ask our vendors, making sure that the data are bias tested and also well documented. So I think that's the steps, that is the advice I will give you, so that when people ask you why this decision is made, we as in human resources will be able to explain this is the logic behind for this decision. Transparency is the key. Hope I've answered your question. Any other questions from the participants? Hi, Nong, right? Welcome. You are from Cambodia. Welcome to this session. Anyone? Oh, I got a question here. Let me take a look. Okay, so when AI make a recommendation that HR cannot fully explain, what level of transparency should organization commit to, and who should be accountable for the explanation? I think this is quite similar to what I just mentioned, right? Who is accountable for would be the head of the department, the people who is responsible for that department. And what level of transparency should organization commit to? I think where there are any questions in relation to a decision, somebody will be able to explain with details to our employees. And also all the explanations are well documented. And even the trails, how decisions are made, also be well documented. And this is something that we as employees we love to see, and also shows the transparency of the company. So any other questions before we close this session today? If no, okay. So next week, we have this HR Tech Asia conference in Singapore. And I'm so pleased that I'll be sharing the governance for the AI era in one of their power talks in Singapore. For those who are from Singapore, and we also be attending the conference, I hope to see all of you here. If you do have any questions or comments about governance, I'll be more than happy to meet you in person and discuss further. Okay, so for our session, we are going to continue our session on the 3rd week of May. So, and by then we will have a panel discussion about inclusion. Thank you so much, and I wish every one of you the very best, and also enjoy the rest of the week. Thank you.